Good evening, folks, and it's time for another installment of Wednesday Night Racing at the Dick Lane Velodrome.
All right. First race of the night is the Group 3 10 Lap Scratch Race. That field has Cody Wellens, John Turner, Patrick Gearhart, and Spencer Karate. With the whistle, we see Cody Wellens up high, marking his field, making sure he's got the advantage. Gearhart driving the pace down in the sprint line. This scratch race was pretty well behaved. Everyone stayed together till about one lap to go. With the bell lap, we can see Cody Wellens leading out Spencer Karate. Gearhart staying down in the sprint lane means that he misses out on the momentum from descending off of the banking. Powerful attack, getting in just enough away to secure first place. That's Cody behind him, Gearhart, and then Turner. Next race of the night is the Group 2 10 Lap Scratch Race. That's 8 riders in the field. Up high, we see Mike Tharp with Rudy Kiefer behind him. If someone decides to go for an attack, Tharp will have a chance of getting on their wheel with the least amount of expenditure, and Rudy will get the draft advantage off of Mike. That's Justin Roman taxiing the field up to speed. Pay attention to Aaron Freeman just behind Bolin, coming up high, making an out-of-the-saddle attack. This is with 2 laps to go. Aaron plans on trying to get away and stay away for the win. And with the bell lap, we see Stefan Bolin and Andy Bailey charging up behind and overtaking Aaron Freeman. And with Stefan Bolin coming around the straight, we see Kenny Gilead looking to take the win. And with half a bike length, that's Stefan Bolin, Kenny Gilead, then Justin Roman and Andy Bailey behind him for 5th. Last scratch race of the night is the Group 1 10 Lap Scratch Race. Chance Davidson gets things going. It looks like the field is ready to respond. That is Jonathan Agee charging up the pace with Howard Buckley behind him. And then Julian Roux continuing to drive the pace up. It's here where we see Julian Roux at the front of the sprint lane making an out-of-the-saddle attack. We see Michael Twigg pacing his response. Julian engaging the field, swings high, lets Michael Twigg come through. That lets Julian get back into the field and prepare for the next attack. And by the time we get to the bell, we see Howard Buckley at the front, out of the saddle and attacking into the sprint. It looks like he's able to deliver just enough power to actually drive away from the field. And coming around with about 10 bike lengths between him and the rest of the field, he secures first place. And it looks like Jonathan snags second place from Julian by just half a tire's width. Next up is the Group 3 10 Lap Snowball Race. This is the race where whatever lap number you're at, that's the number of points that first place gets. What you'll notice about this race is that everyone kind of does it differently. Some people don't feel like they can actually compete against the strongest racers, so they'll go for more points early, knowing that they're not going to get as much heat for that. And then you'll get some people that'll wait till the end of the race and try to get the most valuable laps. The best part about these kinds of races is that the race actually becomes more like a game than just an all-out sprint. You really have to be smart and keep track of everyone else's points. I believe that's Cody Wellens snagging 5 points right here. This race is very similar to the point a lap or the tempo race where points are distributed every lap. And with the bell lap, this is the most valuable lap. That's 10 points. Spencer did get the last lap. However, the total points was 38 points for Cody Wellens, 27 points for Spencer Karate, and 1 point for Patrick Gearhart. Next up is the Group 2 15 Lap Snowball Race. The interesting thing about races like this is oftentimes you'll have everyone focusing on the actual game part of it, which definitely is where you need to be in terms of keeping track of who's got what points. However, some people will just try to make an attack from the front and outpace the field for the entire race. The only way that's going to work is if you're just a bit stronger than everyone else. Say like a true pursuiter where some people don't have a very good sprint. They may try to actually pull this tactic, but when you've got 9 or 10 racers that are all fairly well-rounded and capable of working well as a group, that's pretty hard to pull off. Bolin and Gilead are off the front from the field, and it looks like Bolin gets 6 points from Gilead right there. Looks like they've become the front of the race, and Gilead just snags, looks like 7 points while the field catches up. Now it looks like Justin Roman's trying to gain some points, and now he's off the front. Looks like he has every intention of staying away for the rest of the race. However, I see Rudy Kiefer back there, and when Rudy Kiefer decides to go, he usually puts it all out there until the end. And there's Justin snagging 10 points. Rudy Kiefer's doing a wind-up right now, aiming for the most valuable laps of the race. Rudy Kiefer did stay away for the rest of the race. Just by making that one decisive move at the end of the race, he secured 67 points, while Justin Roman secured 27, Stefan Bolin secured 6, and Aaron Freeman got 4 points. Next up is the Group 1 15 Lap Snowball Race. That's 7 riders in this field to start with. Howard Buckley, Chance Davidson, Jonathan Agee, Michael Twigg, Emery Hancock, Julian Rue, and Johnny Rhodes Delbridge. Michael Twigg picks up the first point. Julian Rue picks up second and third lap. Jonathan Agee powers up to the front for 4 points. Emery drives the pace for 5 points. And then Chance Davidson powers up for 6 points. And now we see Emery Hancock trying to make a break from the rest of the field. And there's Michael Twigg snagging another 8 points. That gives him 9 for the race so far. And there's Julian for 9 points, so that puts him at 14. And then he picks up another 10. That puts him at now 24.
Yeah,
Here's Emery snagging 11. That puts him at 23 points. Now Jonathan Agee pulls up for 12 points. That puts him at 16. Chance, deciding his glasses are a liability, gets another 13 points, which puts him up to 19. And on the bell lap, which is 14, that's Julian and Michael Twigg. Looks like Julian gets the 14 points, as well as the final 15 points of the night. That rounds him off to 53 points, getting him first place. Next up is the combined Group 2 and 3 field doing a missing out race. Here we see Rudy Kiefer trying to pace away from the field. I think he got a little confused, and once he got out there, he wasn't sure if he was in the wrong place, so he ended up pulling out early. The game being missing out is last person across the line gets pulled. It's a process of elimination until you get down to the last 3 racers, which then leads to a neutral lap before the final sprint. What's interesting about this race is that while many people understand the rules of the process of elimination, the strategy of a missing out is something else entirely. There's a couple of different ways you can play it. The most risky and certainly the most entertaining is what's called Devil's Tank the Hindmost. That's the person at the back, up high, basically just trying to make sure they're out sprinting the very last person, usually at the bottom. Worst place to be is at the bottom, because if everyone squeezes up and they're all stacked up, there's really no way to not be last. But the best place to be is to be at tempo, first, second position, driving the pace just hard enough to where everyone behind does not want to come around. Next up is the Group 1 missing out. There's in the field, same rules as I just explained. You might see some interesting strategy in this one.
And I'm pulling on black.
Right, y'all with all these bells. I'm going to put it down here.
And with the whistle, you see Delbridge up high and Michael Twigg behind him. I believe they're giving 5 laps of no elimination before the pulling starts.
Pulling on the next lap.
And here we should see an elimination. You see Delbridge up high. That's Howard behind him. Howard gets pulled. Notice Michael Twigg in the back at the bottom. He gets pulled. I think what attracts people to the back and the bottom there is it gives the best draft. And that's Jonathan Agee.
145.
Emery decides he's had enough, and he's going to try to leave everyone, which was pretty smart. With Delbridge out, that's 3 to go, and that leaves a neutral lap for him to get away. There's Julian in pursuit, and there's the bell lap, and here's the final sprint. It looks like Julian was able to nab it by just about a bike length. Next up is the combined Group 2-3 30-lap points race. That's 12 riders on the field. Sprints every 10 laps, that's every 2 miles. Points are double on the final sprint. I believe that's Patrick Cambry making an attack right there. And there's Rudy leading out the charge, heading up to the first sprint. And with the first bell lap, we see Stefan Bolin leading it out. Aaron Freeman right behind him, and Justin Roman in third. And here comes Justin Roman picking up 5 points. Each sprint lap is 4 deep. That's 5 points, 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point. That's first, second, third, fourth. Final lap is double points. Looks like Patrick Cambry has had enough for the night. He is up above the stayers line, which is where you want to be if you are out of contention. Second sprint of the night, that's Aaron Freeman leading out Stefan Bolin and Spencer Karate. And that's Justin Roman trying to come around Stefan Bolin. The higher up the track you are, the more distance you have to cover to get to the start-finish line. The mixed advantage is that coming off of the banking, you actually get a little bit of a downhill. So that's Justin Roman for another 5 points. That's Rudy Kiefer winding up at the top. I missed the beginning of the final sprint, but I got the end here, and there's Rudy probably made a big attack, and that's him with 10 points. That's Andy Bailey for 6, and that looks like Chris Annunziata snuck in 4 points there. Last race of the night, it's Group 1 40-lap points race. And with the whistle, we've got 6 people on the field. Should be a pretty good race. Chance Davison gets things going straight from the gun. That's Michael Twigg driving the pace. I wonder if there's any relation to Rebecca Twigg. Some of the older racers might remember Rebecca Twigg was one of the big American track racing athletes from the 90s that was in the Olympics. That particular year, 1996, that was here in Atlanta. There used to be a velodrome right up on Stone Mountain. Now it's a bird sanctuary. That's Jonathan Yee driving the pace really hard for this first sprint. And that's Michael Twigg right behind him. Emery Hancock gets 3rd place. That's 2 points. Now it looks like Julian Roux and Emery Hancock are driving the pace off the front. Meanwhile, Jonathan and Michael Twigg and Howard Buckley are working together. Coming up on the second sprint. That's Julian and Emery. It looks like Michael Twigg and Howard Buckley are starting to pull away from Jonathan Agee. This is 3rd to last sprint. Julian's driving the pace. Seeing that Julian gave the last sprint to Emery, I think that Emery should be giving this one to Julian. And now it looks like Emery and Julian have lapped Chance and Jonathan Agee. I think that should give them 20 points up on the field. And with the final sprint, Emery leads it out. And Julian turns on the turbo, out of the saddle, full on sprint. Emery basically let him out for that. There you go, that's 10 points. Total points for Julian Roux is 18, Emery Hancock 16, Michael Twigg 4 points, and Howard Buckley got 3 points. Not a bad night of racing.
Where'd you get that Nagasawa?
From a gentleman that runs Track Supermarket, Renee. He has an eBay store, or had an eBay store, and that's where I got this from.
That's awesome.